Hello, everyone, and welcome to Feature Friday. Our guest today is a dear friend of mine who is absolutely amazing. But before we do that, can you please smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification so that you can get notified when we upload these videos. Without further ado, my guest today is Dr. Angelia Reddy. She is the owner and CEO of Cellulite Therapy Center. She has been practicing chiropractic here in Ocala, Florida for over 20 years now and is in the process of expanding her practice to include several state-of-the-art modalities. I am so excited. Not only that, but this year, she received the award of Businesswoman of the Year for Lake and Sumter County Style magazine. Welcome, Dr. Reddy. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm great, Tanya. How are you?
Oh, I'm so excited that you're here.
Wonderful. I'm excited to be here.
Go ahead. Sorry.
This is an honor to get to speak with you because you are one of my top favorite people. So I feel very honored to.
Oh, thank you. I can say the same about you. So before we start, and I would like you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself so they can understand why I love you so much.
Well, I am a native Floridian. I grew up in the small town of Williston, Florida. And I knew from a very, very young age what I was going to do for a living, what my purpose and passion was. So I felt very blessed and still feel very blessed that was the case. But we'll get back to that a little bit later. I have lived in a couple of different states, just pursuing my career for, the educational part of it. So, one of my favorite states I did live in was Texas. So I am a Texas girl at heart. I'm the mother of three. Two have they're out of the nest and on their way in their own careers. And I have one still at home. Will be graduating high school next year. So, yeah.
So raising three kids is a feat in and of itself. And you also were building your business at the same time.
Yes. So actually, when I entered chiropractic school, my oldest was 16 months at the time. And was a little scared to start such an endeavor with a toddler in tow. But the school was very gracious and allowed me to bring her to class with me when I needed to, when we kind of got stumped as far as babysitting and what have you. But about the beginning of the second trimester, so I had not even been in school a year yet, I found out I was pregnant with number two. So I had my baby boy while I was in chiropractic school, and in fact, he was born on the birth of chiropractic, September 18th. So I stayed in class in school the whole time for the whole term of my pregnancy, and went right back to class the week after I delivered him, and finished. I finished, on time with my class, and that was with a lot of help from a lot of people, including the dean of the schools, the president of the schools, staff doctors, my classmates. If it weren't for them, I would not have been able to do that. But yes, so I know what it's like to have little ones, at your knees and feet and what have you, while you are trying to build yourself, be it your education, your career.
That is just amazing. So I know I said you're a chiropractor. You've been practicing chiropractic for 20 years. You're the CEO and owner of Cellulite Therapy, and it's more than just chiropractic. So tell us a little bit about your business, please.
Okay. So about 20 years ago is when I did enter into chiropractic. And I've, my main purpose is to offer chiropractic care for wellness, not just a pain focused, symptom focused based practice. Um, about 2 years into my practice, well, I found out number 3 was coming. So I had to make a decision, and it was either to continue growing my thriving practice and have my children being raised by a nanny, or I was going to close my practice down and kind of take the kind of stay on the sidelines a little bit, I guess, in my career to raise my children. And that is what I decided to do. So I closed my practice down and moved my office into my house, and had my newest one on the floor with me and in my arms and at on my hip and everything, as I adjusted patients that were just very close patients of mine that they just, we just kind of brought them in when they absolutely needed. Because in fact, I just said this morning, I just can't keep my hands off people. And I mean that in a loving way, in a very healthy way. Healthy way. I love what I do so much. I couldn't just let it go. So over the years, I've been adjusting patients and building a family with families in our community. And about 7 years ago, I was struck with a very severe, excruciating, life-altering pain myself, and sought care in all different forms. Obviously, chiropractic, but I chose, tried acupuncture, deep tissue massage, physical therapy, every kind of herb and supplement you could think of. Nothing was touching it. And so I did actually seek care in more your allopathic medical route. And the modalities and the medications we tried there was of no help either. So 4 months of excruciating pain I could not get away from. I'm continually doing my research into what I was suffering with, and found that a class 4 laser had been showing a lot of promise and a lot of success with this particular situation. So in comes my first class 4 laser. I treated myself with it for about 2 weeks. Well, I'll take that back. I started treating myself, and within about 2 weeks, it was about 90% gone, resolved. Within a month, completely resolved. So needless to say, lasers became my passion. So my practice, the face of my practice, completely changed because of this one adversity, major adversity that I went through in life. And I could have done without the pain, but I'm very blessed with it or by it at the same token, because I would not be on the path that I'm currently on now if it weren't for it. That is when I would say the conception of Cellulite Therapy Center started to take place. Even though I had not started the formal business, Cellulite Therapy Center, the vision of having a practice, a laser red light therapy based practice, started. Lots of research. That's where I kind of poured all of my time and research into, was red light therapy and laser therapy. And so over the course of the years, I have added several types of lasers into my practice. And so now, in addition to the chiropractic services that I offer, which do include some emotional work through a technique called neuroemotional technique, some allergy work to help people desensitize from sensitivities, be it food or environmental allergies, using NAT. I started adding in a slew of different laser therapies. And so I finally got my dream and bought my first full body red light laser bed. And that, well, actually, that's not when cellulite therapy actually started. I started using a modality that's very commonly used in chiropractic practices for pain and inflammation. It's a shockwave unit, and discovered that it is probably one of the most effective treatments for the reduction of cellulite, connective tissue issues, I call it. So that type of issue that plagues probably 99% of the women, it's not a fat issue. It's not a lack of exercise or diet or whatever. It truly is the connective tissue just becomes very unhealthy, which is right in my wheelhouse as a chiropractor, because we want healthy connective tissue for the function and form to be at its best. So that is actually when cellulite therapy came to be. So Cellulite Therapy is a full wellness center, offering several different modalities that help to heal, repair at the cellular level. We're dealing with not only healing and repairing, but rejuvenating and reversing damage that's been done to our bodies, mostly in the connective tissue level, to optimize their function in their body. So that's kind of a synopsis of what cellulite therapy is. That Cellulite Therapy Center is.
That is amazing. First, I want to say, boys and girls, do not treat yourselves at home. Dr. Reddy is a licensed professional, and so that's why she's treating herself. But I have to say, I mean, we've used your services and you have done a world of difference in my family's life. The treatments that you have, the red light therapy, the modalities, the NET, all of those really do come together as a holistic, and I mean holistic, benefit treatment to the person. So I really love what you're doing, and I am so glad. I'm sorry you had to go through that period of pain, but I am grateful that this is what was born out of it, because it truly is revolutionary what you're doing. And so with that, what is it that you absolutely love about your business? Why are you in this business?
Mainly because it's the impact that I have or I'm a part of other people's lives. To see even as little as a day old, see how their life can actually be changed in just one moment in a positive way, just through working with the body as opposed to against the body. I love the fact that most of my practice, it's a family affair. It's a family event. I actually feel so energized when the whole family comes in, because I know the family unit is being treated like they take their wellness, their family health, to the utmost level. I love the children. Just I don't even know. The children are just that fills me in ways that I just can't even explain, because they're so excited about coming to the doctor, because they know they're going to feel better. And most people don't think about children having any issues or whatever, and they don't necessarily have to complain of pain or discomfort. They just know that they're going to feel better, and they love to help me. They love to help me adjust their parents and stuff. So I feel like as a chiropractor, I'm making a huge impact on the lives of others, through their health, their wellness, their interaction with each other, things like that. That's actually promoting their body and its functionality, as opposed to kind of working against it and hindering it.
So before I met you, I always thought about chiropractor as, I have a pain in my shoulder, I have a pain in my back, let me go get adjusted. But now I know it really is more of a wellness maintenance type of treatment, type of modality, industry, right? So can you just educate our audience a little bit about what it means to have chiropractic as wellness as opposed to pain relief?
Okay. I'll try to keep it as short and sweet as I can. If you think about it, your spine is housing probably one of the most important parts of your body, which is your spinal cord. And your spinal cord is your information highway from your brain to your body and your body to your brain. If you kind of think about it, if we didn't have our highways and byways and interstates and stuff, could you imagine how difficult it would be to travel from one city to the next, one state to the next? Like how clogged things would be, because there wouldn't be a smooth, open highway to get from one area to the next. When your spine is aligned, the motion is at its optimal movement or functionality. That allows for communication through the nerves, which carry all the information in your body, which affects every system in your body, including your immune system. It allows the communication from one area to the other to happen very smoothly without any interference or interruptions. So if you're driving along I-75, and those of us here in Ocala know how clogged up it can be, but if you're driving on I-75 and there's an exit that is backed up, for whatever reason, it could be construction, it could be that the signal is not moving, the red light just is kind of getting stuck, what have you, you're going to slow down, even if that's not your exit you want to get off on. So it's going to affect you, even though that exit has nothing to do with where you're wanting to go. It's the same way with your spinal cord, your spinal nerve, your nerves, information going from your big toe to your brain. If there is an interference with the flow of that nerve, it is going to affect anything from that nerve forwards, upwards, down, whichever way you want to look at it. So that is why chiropractic, it really is, most people think of it as pain because it is a wonderful, effective modality for pain relief. But pain relief is really so minimal. It's like at the bottom of the list of what the benefits you get from a chiropractic adjustment. And the only reason why that's what people seek it out for is the nerves for pain. They're the smallest and least important nerve, but it's the one that gets irritated the quickest. So when we adjust you, the pain goes away, but you're also opening up those channels, those pathways that are going to make your immune system stronger and healthier. It's going to make your sensations, it's going to help your liver function, your stomach function, your GI function. Everything is going to function at a higher level if that information coming to and from is not disturbed. I've said for many, 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 many years that if everybody wore their spines on the outside, there would not be enough chiropractors in this country to take care of the number of people that would actually seek care. Because you think about almost every child nowadays has braces. They see the orthodontist for braces because of misalignments in the teeth, right? And it doesn't just affect the teeth. It can affect all other types of issues and health, but you see it. So people actually, they seek it. They don't question it. The spine is no different. It's actually, it's a highway byway for everything in your body. You just don't, it's not out in front and center for you to see it. So we wait until we start getting symptoms before we seek care.
And just because you're not in pain doesn't mean that there's not a block or something that can be maintained or made to function better. Correct.
Right. Pain is the last thing that shows up. You will have had a problem long before you actually experience pain from it, unless it's an acute trauma. I mean, you're going to have pain that goes along with it. But a lot of the subluxations that we correct, people don't even know they're there until we touch them, because it's more the tactile sensation of pressure that will elicit the pain, and they had no clue that they had a problem there.
Wow. So it is very important, if you have not seen a chiropractor, call Dr. Reddy, go get her to check you out and help, make your body work more efficiently and better. I will vouch for her. It really does work. Like I said earlier, she made a huge impact in our lives. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about the business of business. And so if you could share with our audience some of the obstacles that you have run into and how you've overcome them. One, which you already shared, was the fact that you wanted to raise your kids, and you overcame that by basically breaking the mold and not having a chiropractic office, right? And doing it where it works for you while you can still service your clients by doing it at home. What are some other obstacles that maybe can help our audience see that, there's a way to overcome them?
One I would say is from day one, I have been a cash practice. I don't accept insurance for my services. I could go into a long spiel as to why I don't do it, but the main reason is because I want to be able to serve my patients to the best of my abilities and to their highest need. And sometimes, or a lot of times, insurance companies are not on par with that type of care. Also, a lot of services that I do offer, insurance companies aren't going to cover anyways, because it is wellness. So insurance companies are more into critical care, sick care. We are in wellness. So that was very difficult starting out, because most people, the first question they ask, do you take my insurance? And here I was, by myself, hung my shingle, and started to get my name out and stuff, and trying to build by yourself without a group. Not taking insurance can be a long, laborious process. So I knew if I was going to do this, I had to approach it in a way that I educated everyone that I spoke to about chiropractic. Again, is not sick care. I'm not here for sick care. I will absolutely address your pain, but that's not what I'm here for. I am here to help you live optimally, to improve your overall health and wellness and well-being. So you can't put a price on that, and insurance is not going to pay for that. So you're paying, this is kind of like you're paying for your own insurance for yourself. You're investing in your health today, so that your healthcare cost in the future is going to be much less, taking care of your body on the forefront. So it really was about, intensifying my efforts in educating people and educating the family unit, because we want the entire family unit to come in and receive care. So that was a huge obstacle. And it's still today. I will not get patients because I don't take insurance, and that's okay. There are definitely chiropractors out there, or other practitioners and physicians that can help them. And, but the other obstacle I have found is being a female chiropractor or a female doctor, I'll just say in that, I have ran into not being taken seriously, and taking advantage of their place in my office, especially we're talking about the male, from men with, in a female interaction kind of thing. Being a chiropractor, it is a hands-on practice. I mean, you have to get your hands on people to help them. And I just kind of, especially with networking events and things like that, to try, what most people would do to get themselves out into the community and introduce themselves and start building relationships. I just kept finding I was running into this issue where I just wasn't taken seriously, and people weren't seeing me as offering the health care that I was out there to offer. So I stepped back. I stepped back from those types of situations and just kept my practice strictly referral, word of mouth by the patients that had been seeing me all these years. And I would say I have started getting back out into the community and networking and stuff, because I'm building my tribe here. I'm building, I've got, there are more people in my practice. There's more people coming in and out. And I have learned to vet my potential patients very well. So, when it comes to meeting somebody out in the community, not necessarily in a health arena, I vet them very well before I allow them in, because I want people who want my services to the fullest and optimal way. I want to, this is a serious business, and I'm going to be taken serious. So I would say that's probably one of the ways that I have kind of overcome that, is really getting really good at vetting my patients that I meet, are potential patients that I meet out in the community.
That I am so sorry that you have to experience this. And unfortunately, that is just part of our society at the moment. I really believe it's getting a little bit better as time goes on, and as people are getting more educated in what we can do and some of the things that the value that we bring. But I love that you said, basically an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And the other thing is, it doesn't matter what society as a whole thinks or what the stigma is, as long as you stay true to you and you find the clients that align with you, right? Because just because you can help people doesn't mean that you have to help them, and it doesn't mean that they're the right client for you. Like you said, other chiropractors can help people who don't align. And I love that you're doing that, because I see so many business owners get into the trap of, well, I need the money. I need to bring in any client. It's okay if they're not 100% aligned. It's okay if they're a little abusive, or they don't really value my services as much as they should. And I think that's something that we need to get away from, just like you have.
Yes,
Right?
yes. Once you make a decision as far as, I'm gonna say, your standards and what you want, the energy you want in your business or your practice or whatever. I mean, I have that mentality that I want to help everybody. I really, I get so frustrated when I do have a case that's a little more difficult, it's a little longer to respond or whatever. And I won't give up. I'm just one of those that I won't give up. But there are always going to be those out there that just don't, they're going to be better served somewhere else with someone else. They will align much better than that. That way it's healthy for both people. When you're trying to serve in a situation or someone that it's kind of going against your energy, your standards or what have you, neither one of you are gonna benefit. So I really have gotten a lot better over the years about, I have no problems releasing someone to someone else's care if the need be, if the situation is not one that's cohesive for both.
And it's funny, some people might look at you and say, well, you're smaller framed, you're skinny, like how are you going to be able to adjust to me, especially as a bigger man? And I mean, look, my husband is what, 6'2", 200 pounds, and you had no issues adjusting him at all.
Yeah.
So I think people tend to judge the book by its cover sometimes, and it's great to be able to break that stigma as well, and show that no, just because I may look like I'm not that strong doesn't mean that I'm not, and there's a lot of inner strength that you have as well.
Well, and one of my very first patients, when I first opened my office up, he calls me. He's in construction, commercial construction owner. And he calls me and he says, well, I saw your sign and I see you're a female. He said, I am 6'4". I think he was probably 220, 240 pounds at the time. He goes, do you think you can help me? And I said, well, why don't you come on in and let me show you? And he learned very quick, like it's not about force. It's not about muscle. It's about knowing what you're doing, and it, like you said, it's about finesse. The body, and that work goes in everything. The more you try to force something, the more resistance you get. And so it's not about forcing these things to happen. It's about, just encouraging. And that it takes more muscle here, not here. So yes, I was glad that I encountered that very early on, because that's kind of stuck with me. And he's actually is still, he still comes to see me. So
that's fantastic. So we've talked about some obstacles and how you've overcome them. I want to talk about what is running smoothly in your business and how did you get it to run so smoothly?
I would say just the kind of the everyday, what do I want to say? Everyday function, like just the way the practice functions, because we have a multitude of modalities that are working at multiple and working at any one given time. So we, with the help of my amazing office manager that she joined with me about a little over a year ago now. Mind you, I did this all by myself for 17 years. So learning how to allow somebody to come in and help me was a hard obstacle to overcome. There you go. But I learned to delegate really quick, and it's been a blessing. But we have several things going on at any one time, and there's only the two of us. But we've learned how to kind of just schedule everything very smoothly, and again, educate the patients, the clients. Like this is what is expected of you. This is what you will be doing. And it just, for the most part, runs like clockwork. We really rarely ever have any hiccups. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but most of the time it just runs very, very smoothly. And I am not I don't like seeing people waiting in the waiting room. When you come in, you're going back. So I don't like double and triple scheduling or anything like that. I schedule, your time is your time. So we like to, as soon as one's out, the other one's in. And I like that it's nice. takes the stress off of me. It certainly takes the stress off of the patient or the client, because their time is just as important as mine. So I don't want them sitting here waiting 30 minutes on me or an hour, because that's valuable time they're losing out on adding to the world, their part in it all. So I would say that's definitely is what's running very smooth, just the day-to-day operation.
And how did you get it to run so smoothly? I mean, did it just kind of happen? Were you intentional about the modalities that you bought? Were you intentional about, how to organize the meetings? What is it?
Some of it probably happened a little organically, but it was a lot of the idea behind the modalities that I chose. It's not a lot of like manpower on the business, like the business itself. A lot of these things are self-directed type things. You teach them or show them once how to do it, and they follow suit. We did in the very beginning when we added the hot and cold plunge therapy. Of course, I was wanting to be out there, not inside working. So I was a little jealous. I was a little jealous about that, but it was just kind of that, we had a lot of new people at one time, and you really do want to kind of walk people through at least their first or second time. So we had to kind of work the timing around that as far as scheduling. But once we kind of worked that out, that became smooth as well. But I'd say, yeah, a lot of it was me. Like didn't want to schedule patients because I wanted to be out there. So I had to give up my want to be out there and watch everybody scream as they get into the cold. But yeah, I think I would say a lot of it was just, it kind of did happen organically. And I think finding the right people. So Jessica was just the perfect person for the position that she took on. And she sees something, and she knows how to make it happen or correct it when it needs to be corrected. So you've got to have a good, strong, well-communicating team that you're almost thinking ahead and for each other to make it happen.
So communication and intentionality, basically, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And so, do you have any last words of advice for our audience?
I would say, well, there's two that I think have been extremely important. One is owning your vision. Do not say, I would like, if, when, whatever. You have a vision and you own it. And nothing in the world will get in your way from fulfilling that vision, that quest, that whatever it is. It may not happen the way you want it to happen exactly. It may not happen on your time frame, but it will happen if you have that vision and you stick to it. The other thing is finally realizing that it is not healthy nor smart to try to build Rome in a day. So I have always been one of those that when I make up my mind to do something, it is like balls to the wall, and I don't stop. I just don't stop until it's done. And then by the time I've kind of achieved that next thing, and this is built within what you're building, I'm just like wiped out, and I have to, go through this whole recuperation process. And I finally have accepted and realized that just a little step every day, even if it's like, I believe in the power of meditation and taking time out every day to, put your focus on you, your life, your health, your wealth. But if you try to start doing 20 minutes and you've never done it before, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't sit here any longer. So don't start 20 minutes, start 2 minutes, start 5 minutes. And before you know it, I look forward to waking up in the morning because I look forward to doing that. That's how my morning starts. And my morning is dedicated to my reading and my meditation. And I absolutely can. When I go to bed at night, I cannot wait to wake up because I know I get to do that. And the same thing goes when you're trying to build something or whatever it is you're trying to achieve. You want to see the completion of it, but just realize just a little step every day in that direction is going to get you there. Again, the more you force something, the more it's going to push back on you. And I'll say one more thing, if I can.
Of course.
The way that it was the coolest thing, because I've always heard the more the more you force something, the more you're going to get pushed back, the more resistance, blah, 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 right? Well, I was trying to drill a hole in one of my cabinets to feed an electric cord through, right? So I have a hole saw. It was probably an 1.5 inch hole saw in the most awkward positions to get to it. I have my drill and I'm pushing, the bit that's this big into it. And I started realizing, because of course you're wanting to push. You're trying, like if I push, it'll give it more, force and it'll make that hole happen faster. Oh no. I mean, it jerked the drill out of my hand. It just everything. It was every time I got it going and I tried to start pushing again, it would jerk, it would get stuck, it would all this, that, and the other. And then when I finally just slightly placed it on the surface, just a little gentle kind of push, just gentle, it just zoomed right on through. So the more you just a little bit of an influence as opposed to forcing, because the more you force, the more kickback you're going to get. So that was like, oh, so that's life right there for you. So it wasn't until I just let up on my pressure and just barely gave it a little bit of placement there, and then the hole was done. So I have started living that way the rest of my life since that has happened. So I think that's.
And I was going to say, it just lends to a better, more relaxed, less stressful life and
right.
business.
Right.
Thank you for that analogy. And last but not least, how can we get a hold of you?
Okay, well, you can visit our website at www.cellulite, that's CELLULIGHTTC.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Cellulite Therapy Center. Let's see, we have a YouTube channel and it's at Ready for Results. You can contact us via phone call or text at 352-433-3736. And we do have, if you have any questions or what have you, you can email us at info@cellulitetc.com.
Thank you so much. And all of that information will be on this video. So if you did not catch it, it will show up in a minute. Thank you everybody for being here today. Thank you so much, Dr. Reddy, for your words of wisdom and sharing all of that information with us. And we'll see you next week.